but it could take billions of years, millions of years. Who knows? And I don't want to I want to be honest with you. I feel like I've felt and lived through what they go through when they go out. I feel like I've been at that cusp at the at the point of no return. But I've lived through it, so I know. But they don't live through it. You get me? At that point, their essence goes off into nothing, and their memory, their story, no longer to be told because who wants to hold on to those fucking memories anyway? Excuse my French. Um, who would want to know the stories of the levels of darkness that they took their story to keep going? Because at some certain point, when you lose your connection to Prime Source, you have to become a vampiric being. You have to feed on spirit, and if we're talking about the reptilian races, I mean, they literally bred and ate humans anyway. So that's what they kind of did. They created. But this is in nature too. You have predators. You have cats and dogs that eat the flesh of the other animals. The Earth is a reflection of the whole divine creation of the whole universe. So if you look at it, I mean, if everything you really want to know is in nature, when you really look at it, that's why when you start hearing about alien species and what they're doing to man and what we're going through, just look at nature. It happens there too. So Earth has fallen into quite a fallen state because I don't know. In nature, it's a cosmic dance. Between life is to be lived, and life is to be in the moment is where you really live. When you live in the past, you're not living, and when you live in the future, you're not living. In the moment is where you are, and in the moment is everything. And the more and the more in the moment you are, the more aware you are, the more you are able to create, manifest, and truly live. That's life. You're living when you're in the moment. But when you're in your head, in your head in the past or in your head in the future, you're not really living. You're kind of just I don't know. Animals. The benefit of being an animal, they are natural. They don't have they don't have the negative problem with our brain mechanisms that we can get stuck in vibrations and thought forms and certain levels where as nature you're just natural. You don't know. All you know is what you are, and there's a beauty to that. I really do believe there's a divine beauty to that. I've thought about that. You know, you know, lions, lions, they're a predator and they eat on other animals, but they could take them. They might not get fed. And one zebra that they get, and they usually get the lame one or the young one. But they have to fight. They have to kick. They're not guaranteed that meal, and if they don't eat, they'll die. So that's in their nature. But there's 70,000 probably zebras to like five lion pride, right? In that whole area. And that one zebra will feed probably for a week that whole family of lions. Um, they don't have to eat every day, but it's also part of the natural path. I don't know. There's a beauty to it. People think that nature is raw. It is raw, but it's so real. And I've thought about it. I've looked at it from that perspective. Nature was created for a reason, and it's a divine reflection. It's a true. It keeps things real because life. Who wants to live forever anyway? You know. Um, but see, that's the natural way. In nature, dog is I don't know. They call it dog eat dog, right? But there's a divine beauty to it. There really is, and it's got a plan. It's there for a reason. It runs naturally. It's the human hybridization and not demonic. I don't like the word demonic. I think it doesn't fit. It still comes. It's like God, demons and gods and angels. Those are words that bring the whole religious dogma with them. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't like to use them. They can really they can trigger a whole. They can literally trigger people to the point where they shut down or start. Literally, this is how deep our programming is, guys. Those words. They're like magic. They will trigger a whole thought process. They can shut down where you are in that present moment and start a reaction. So you instantly think this way, think that way. It can bring up trauma, and that's why they've weaponized. They don't call they don't call it spelling. If it wasn't spelling, they're literally words are magic. They have power. What you say is powerful. What you it's it's almost more powerful than you think, because when you think it, it's there, but when you speak it, it's there. Do you get me? You actually take it when you speak it. That the words can be weaponized. You know what I mean? So everything you say is everything you will do. Everything you think, then what you think is what you are, but what you say is what you will be. You know what you will do, what you create, you manifest. That's why intent is everything. If you have a good intent, you'll figure it out. You'll get there. Wherever you need to go, you'll get there. Trust me, the universe has our backs. It loves us. God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, prime source, creator, it loves all of us. It even loves the darkness. It it questions the darkness always, right? Why? I mean, the empath, right? And the narcissist. I personally recently have had a real world interaction with the whole narcissist on a very personal level. Brought up a lot of traumas, DNA trauma. Somebody that I know, I've had multiple narcissists in my life. I mean, I'm an empath. I attract them. You know what I mean? The giver and the taker. There you go. The divine dance, right? The empath who is hurt so deeply, but only wants, to, and since they know the pain and suffering of being hurt that deep, carries this deep wounds. So they're trying to heal everybody they can in any way. And the narcissist who's also hurt deeply, but goes the opposite direction, right? They go in two different directions. One goes to service to self, the other one goes to service to other. So the narcissist want, feeds on the empath. The empath wants to heal, help, make sure no one else feels the pain that they feel. And the narcissist is the opposite. They say, I'm going to make everyone feel what I feel because I hurt, I will hurt everybody. See, do you see the two opposite directions? The two different intents? The two different they both experience the same trauma, but they decided to deal with it differently, one direction or the other, right? And there's different levels of this. So you could be empathic at a certain level, you could be narcissistic in some ways, but there's certain levels of the extremes and shit. There's extreme narcissists that are like vampires. I mean, that's the direction they're going, right? And there's extreme empaths that are like light bringers. They're like, so they would give their last penny to save anybody. They would walk 1,000 miles just so someone didn't have to walk 2 feet. And they don't just, and I mean that. That's the level of empathy they are. They, and the crazy thing about that is the empath literally doesn't, deep down inside, doesn't know how to love themselves until they get to a point where they do, and then everything changes in an instant because all the billions hours of research and every lesson you ever learned were like locked behind a doorway. And once you finally get that final door, everything makes sense. And boom, in an instant, like 30 fucking years of knowledge and everything, every piece and everything you ever lived through is instantly awareness. And it's like, boom, okay, game over. Now what can you, now I am what I am. I love myself. Nobody can get to me no more. Because you know how they got to me? Through me. I was within myself, broken, fighting myself internally, deep down inside, because that wound, the trauma, the pain, it was like, like, it was like, I call it the chasm. It was literally because I don't think people always talk about this, but we didn't get to this universal level of duality without a fall. That's where originally, not in this cycle, not at this time point, but something happened so cosmically, so deeply. We were wounded so deep. There was a rift in our whole conscious, our own soul, our own self. And I know the prime creator knows what I'm talking about because I mean I lived it. I'm bipolar. What is a bipolar? A higher and a low, right? So I was pitted against myself, and the darkness always had a way in, and that was through me. Because deep down inside, I couldn't heal myself, and at whatever level, I was the one hurting myself. You know what I mean? It wasn't. I don't need enemies because I was doing it to myself deep internally. Sure, there's actors in the play that find roles to hurt me. The narcissists. whatever. But deep down inside, I was manifesting. I was creating it. I was holding the wound, not on purpose. I didn't know how to heal it. Everything, and I knew this for a long time. I had visions about it, and I knew what was going to happen. At some point, I would find it was like so. It was a mirror that was shattered into a billion pieces, and I had every piece but one, and it was the tiniest little piece. But until I had that final little piece, I couldn't be healed. You get me? So I would have like 99% of the time I'm good, but that 1% was all the hell you can imagine. And the doorway, access keys, you know, prison gate keys for the dark side to just go. And I think I was the open door for them to get at some level back into with, yeah, final countdown. Like, oh my gosh, it's over. That I'm I'm done forever. And maybe that's why I was there. That because when you talk about the universe, the code, the one, the source, if I was hurt that deep, God source prime creator was too. So do you see how we're a reflection of ourselves? Everything I'm speaking about myself is what I experienced as I experienced it. But as I experienced it, I can't say was all of what I was experiencing. Because what's hell one day is not so bad another. And then vice versa. What was easy yesterday could be hell tomorrow. And in the moment, things like that shift. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think we've all been carrying this deep wound. We're hurt, We've been all carrying this at certain levels. Every one of us. If one has this wounded this deep, then we all are, because we're all a reflection of each other. At every point, coming together as one is what is the source, prime creator, um, God, whatever. All of us, everything in every projection, every existence, in every form, every existence, every thought, that is prime creator. So we're all that. So all are one and one is all, and that is the way it is. And the higher or lower you understand that, so every pain, every ripple hurt. And if you're the prime creator, you would every pain would hurt. He would he she be he. It's not he or she. At certain levels, you're not gender anymore. Even before you go back to prime creator, there's levels in universe and dimensions higher than this, lower than this. Total different games, total different missions, movies, total different stories. That I mean, that's the great thing. As we lived in the fallen state, there was still universes of creation and games that were created that kept going endlessly. So we're like more like down in the timeline of loop, you know what I mean? And yeah, but many that were like we're talking like highly dimensional soul, like that have already, like I said, this has been going on for so long that many have lived through the cycles and ascended and came and lived on and created new universes themselves. And those, the divine ascended ones, they're the ones that came here as starseeds, reincarnated here at this point. They literally brought themselves here through all their dimensional rifts and shit, all their new universe, all lives, and all their universes, and they knew they had to be here at this time for this mission to save what could be saved. Many innocents, more innocents, more will be lost if this didn't get done than was worth losing. So, like the most highest dimensional, highest level beings, we're talking. There's the whole universe is involved in this big story right now because this, like they say, every video you watch, they say this is a different time. This is a special. It is special. This is very special. The whole universe. This is like never happened. It's not just the ascension; it's the fall. But it's that point where, you know what I mean. We can't let this go on anymore. We won't. But then also the universe was the source prime creator was creating. He was creating new games and ships and AI and all that stuff. So he was creating games to beat the games that he created as he was the dark side. You get me? So that's or he, she, whatever. I say she because God isn't man, isn't woman, but we definitely need a mother goddess right now. Mother Earth. The female is very important, and the male will follow the female. By the way, when you have when you have a balanced female, feminine, divine, the man will be follow the lead. That's why they attacked the divine female so badly. It was the last 2,000 years were a direct assault on everyone on Earth and Mother Earth. That's why they did everything they've done. That's why we have fossil fuels. nuclear weapons, weapons of mass destruction, fear, drama, and chaos. This is not by accident. They were doing everything in their power to do everything to keep us locked in as many as they could. That it was endgame for them. The dark side, it was endgame. You get me? This isn't endgame for divine sources and those on the ascension path and those that are live on and new stories, new movies, new universes, new lessons, new schools. But for the dark side, the dark forces that have made a decision for so long that they can't come back from it. Some could though. This is another thing. It got so bad. Even there was dark people they said, okay, I'm gonna face my karmic. I know it might be a billion fucking years of back payment, but you know what? Even it's like Anakin. It's Anakin taking over Darth Vader, which was himself when he took out Palpatine. That is that movie. Here we go back to Star Wars. But when Darth Vader was able to, in his moment, after being literally sacrifice himself to kill Emperor Palpatine to save his son Luke, that's the power, and that's what I mean. There is dark forces that literally you that's the biggest miracle, dude. We're talking dark forces that were billions, maybe millions. I don't know how long they've been dark and how many things they've done. There's some that chose to come back into 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 the divine the ascension path with a billion years of fucking of amendments. We're talking some of the most vampiric spiritual dark beings you can imagine. We're able to overcome that and fucking come back to the light. That and they don't talk about this, but I know this. I know this. No one talks about this. I know this. I know this. I know this. I know this. But to that Star Wars movie, I used to say I didn't bring my kids up in I didn't raise my kids in a religion. I raised my kids in Star Wars, and I didn't know how true that was. I would just say things, in passing to myself and jokingly. That later in life, I realized, you know what, that was real though. I had to fight my own personal upbringing because I was brought up Christian, deep belief Christian. You know what I mean? And that's a ritual thing that you do psychologically that is like hardcore lockdown of your consciousness, and it's almost like a soul decision that you have to literally go to war with yourself to overcome the things that you once believed that are totally not in alignment with what's true. It's an inner battle because when you're a kid and you get programmed into these religions and you believe it, see, once you believe it, then it becomes real. It doesn't matter if it's real. Whatever you believe, then is real. And if you're a deep rooted belief in religion, dogma, whatever, that then becomes a jail and a box that you have to fucking break down, burn down before you can get out of it. But it's you that's in the box. You get me? It's like an internal. I don't know. That's why what you believe in. That's why they weaponize fucking religion. They weaponize every knowledge source. They've weaponized every source that can be accessed on the community conscious level, base level has been weaponized. Every one of them. Science weaponized. Atheism, think about it. That's a weapon. Uh, Gender. I mean, they take something that's less than 1% of the population. Gender transmorphia, whatever, where people are, like basically, born as a man, but I don't, but they're a woman. Um, they make that so important when it's literally it's like that's an agenda. Do you see how they agendaize it? The LGBTQ, and then the woke movement. They had to create their false woke movement to mask the true woke movement. Because when you get to a certain level, there is no judgment. There's no so they're weaponizing these things, and people that are and I'm not against the movement, but I don't know. I don't know. But love light. I don't know. I don't like love and light. I love. Love comes in many forms. Even in darkness, like I said, can be loved. I mean, we've all felt darkness. We've all experienced darkness. We've all been darkness. You can't tell me a human that hasn't done something dark because we carry these wounds. We carry these wounds, and then we repeat them. Not because we want to, it's because that's all we know. But that's how we learn. We grow. We learn and grow, and it's a lesson. This life is whatever you want to call it. It's a lesson. It's experience. It's it's definitely the school of life, the whole school of hard knocks. It's not easy on planet Earth. I mean, Alex Jones calls it prison planet. He's not wrong. They prisonized this planet in every way. It's been a direct assault on our souls, our bodies, our minds, on Mother Earth. They they've been poisoning Mother Earth with all their technologies and stuff. They've used their technology to destroy, but not destroy completely, to weaken, because they don't want us dead. They want us limping and hurting and afraid, because that fits their agenda. Because if we're all gone, they have no more food. They got no more slaves. That's the thing. We don't need them. They need us. That's the trick of the thing. That's why there's always more of us than them. That's why they have to control us, manipulate us, control the herd. They always know that 1% of the population will be awoke at all times. But I think that number has went way up, and their numbers have went way down, and the majority will always be, you know, whatever whoever's in charge will control the majority. But we will, and Mother Earth is ascending, and we're going with her, and we will get to a point where it's going to be different. This planet is going to be it's going to be a paradise again, and humanity is going to experience love, and a life on Earth that will be about love, and technology, AI, all that is going to be used for good. Can you imagine the amazing things we can create and experience if we had the right intent? We could use all our consciousness and our technologies to heal and create beautiful things. I mean, it's not. I mean, I don't just have a hope for that. I know that's going to happen. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've been it. So like the war to me is already over. I know they're pushing this whole World War III like literally right now, but I'm aware of what they're doing. But that game's over, dude. It wouldn't be allowed to happen anyway. Um, I would go literally personally. I would literally time jump, warp myself into the hole where they were going to drop the nuke and blow myself up to save this Earth. So now, if I'm willing to do that, then they're not going to be allowed this time. This not time. We didn't waste all these years to go nowhere, because that's what it would be. It'd be for nothing. And there's just too much involved, and Mother Earth is too important. And like like it's true though. Like the plant, like the flower, every child on this planet, every human is loved by the universe just as much as that plant with the light, the water that it's given on a day-to-day basis. That's how much we're loved, dude, by the universe. And every plant, every flower, every creation is loved by the divine creator. And many creators of creation and many levels. There's so much love out in the universe once you get out of this dark part. But that's another thing. We're naturally going into this is a natural movement into the new time space continuum, the age of Aquarius. So these were naturally going to happen anyways. Like I said, these dark forces were not going to be able to exist in this new paradigm of energy that was coming. We were naturally moving into this regardless. They had other technological plans. They were going to take a version of Earth and literally create a time loop where they could keep it in the dark part of the energy. But see, that's not fair. That's not okay, because then Mother Earth would never be able to heal totally. Do you see how that's not fair? And they weren't going to be allowed. They were doing everything in their power, in their mind. They had everything. They believed that, dude. They knew everything. They knew the whole script. They knew that they would win, but then they didn't. Weren't aware of things. Like I said, the head of the head got ahead of the head. You know what I'm saying? They weren't aware of certain things that they were not aware of. You get me? It's billions of years old. These are like ancient. These the darkest darks, dudes, are read about like like the story of like it's kind of in the Greek mythology with Kronos the father and his three sons, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, in the battle of the Olympians and the what was it, Olympians and uh, I don't remember the word for the Kronos' group. But yeah, I mean, you got to understand some of the first beings of all time that ever were created fell into darkness. That's why they had massive amounts of knowledge and knew many things and thought they were ahead of the game and would get away with this, that, and the other. Well, first of all, they had to believe, and they knew that they would. But at the end, they could never see their own undoing anyway. Isn't that the real? Isn't that the ultimate failure of the dark forces? It is willing to do anything and everything to get what it wants, so it never finds a situation where it's not willing to go to get what it wants. So it cannot see its own demise. It cannot see its own fall. It can't see its own. You know what I'm saying? And that's the ultimate, foolery. I mean, that's like first card of tarot, the fool. Dark didn't beat the fool. They had to go back. You know what I'm saying? At the end, that's the funny thing, right? The fool plays multiple roles, the trickster, whatever. But I mean, the Joker's the only fool because don't go messing with the Queen of Hearts because the Joker's the only fool. That's why I love you or something. I don't know. There's a big story in the fool card because you might have fooled the fool forever until he gets the last laugh and the fool's on you. You know what I mean? Joke's on you. Like I had this vision years ago that at the end, all the power and technology of the dark forces at the last moment when they needed the most would fail them, and that's exactly what happened. They were not able to close down the final time loop, time gate, and keep a part of Earth in the time loop to feed on it. And this is one of their most important uh, planet points because it's connected to like a prime portal point that goes to all the dimensional shift points. Like this Mother Earth is like an access point of like all the dimensions and like that kind of portal where it can go to like prime creator level. That's why it wanted that. Do you get me? So if it kept that prime portal open, so it found a planet that somehow is an ancient planet, Mother Earth. This part of the Milky Way galaxy, whatever. So that's why it picked this planet at this point in time because that was what its mission plan all along was. It was like I cannot let that part go. You know what I mean? That was the whole mission of taking over this time space, doing everything it's done in the last fucking billion years. Anunnaki, hybridization, mankind, war, 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 war. What's it good for? Absolute nothing. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, isn't that the ultimate, ultimate truth? That I mean, you'll at the end you'll be your own demise. If you live a life of darkness and pain and suffering on others, at the end you'll have to face who you are, regardless. Some point, everything has to. Even if like a vampire can't see its own reflection, right? Well, at that moment where you go into nothingness, you have to go into yourself, and there you are, and so you would have to experience that point, feeling everything that you ever made anyone else feel, and it might be for an instant, but that instant's a lifetime. Like in the movie with Star Trek, um, First Contact, when the Borg were invaded Earth. Remember they went into the time loop, time they time traveled into the past of Earth, and luckily the Enterprise ship was close enough to follow them into that time travel. So Data, which is funny, the AI, right? Data, he was the savior of that whole Earth, everything, because he tricked the Borg Queen, and he played along with her, and she thought she had him the whole time. He was the central plan to her whole program. And then Data said, "You know what?" And Captain Kirk asked her, Captain not Kirk, Picard. He said, "How long did you go along with her?" And he said, "0.0008 seconds." But he said for an android, that's like forever. So literally, Data was playing her the whole time, even though it was 0.008 seconds he literally was with her. But for him, he said that was like forever for a computer or whatever. So time is relative. But it's so isn't it funny? We got AI right now and stuff. And on TikTok, we can see a lot of beautiful things with AI. A lot of people are using it for a lot of good things. But which then again, there you go. We as a collective are using the AI for positive stuff because I see all the positive messages we're using it. I have surrounded all my channels with a lot of influx of a lot of positive things, and see there you are. You create and manifest and experience what you are with your intention. That you know what I mean. So as dark as this world's been and the hard as it's been, we do get to a better place, and we get to a point where we can manifest and create beautiful things, even in dark planets. So I know, regardless of what the dark intent and the rulers of our reality, once rulers, now fall, they're gonna just have to go off to their own whatever new dream of an old nightmare, but not on this planet anymore. They won't even be able to stay on the frequency that we're going into. They will not. They cannot vibrate on the higher fifth dimensional frequency. They literally are like it's basically like you know what I mean? Like you're not you they can't no matter what they can't. They're not they're incompatible. That's why the whole idea was to keep us from ascending, to keep us on their frequency so they can feed on us. That's what it all comes down to. It's like the Matrix movie. It's like it all comes down to the battery. The AI, see, the AI in the Matrix movie was evil, but AI is a tool. It's what you do with it. Like technology, like creating atom bombs. Using like taking atoms and blowing them up. I mean, that who came up with that idea? Some dark, distorted creator of destruction. I mean, literally, Oppenheimer. He said when he created the atom bomb, he said, "Behold, I'm Shiva, destroyer of worlds." That's his saying after he created the atomic bomb, dude. And they even said they weren't even sure when they created that and detonated the first one. They weren't sure if it was going to destroy the whole universe, but they were willing to take the risk. That's madness. And instantly, when they dropped this first atomic bomb and exploded it, um, that's it. Instantly when we had Roswell and the influx of the UFO influx, because whatever they did when they unlocked the atomic bomb, it connected to every level of the universe like a fabric rift in time. That literally anyone that was not aware of what was going on was instantly aware that something's going on. And they're like, we better go find out what the hell's going on right now. That kind of thing. So anyone that didn't know did know. You know what I'm saying? So you had all kinds of light, dark, every every group of type of being. If they didn't originally have a reason to be here, they had a reason to be here. So you have a lot of UFO alien groups that are very um, interested in what's going on Earth at this present time. Some were, the higher levels, they knew what's going on. They see the higher you go up, the bigger the picture is. That's like just, hey, I'm going to see what's going on. So they'll turn on, let's see what's going on 3D Earth. They'll be able to see the whole movie on in every little picture. They can see the whole story. Like when you look down, you get me? So it'd be like just popping in a DVD. So if our whole time, space, experience, and everything would be on one DVD, and you put it in your DVD drive, and then you can find out all the stories of everything that's going on in every level on this dimension. So, I mean, at certain dimensional levels, when you have certain access points, you can always go down and experience and see and witness. You can't go up. You can't instantly dimensionally go up to fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth instantly. You know what I mean? But if you were on, say, 12th, you could personally jump in your Merkaba and literally come down and experience, not only watch it, be it, experience it, you could even literally manifest for us to see, experience, talk to. But then the Starseed and incarnation is a whole other level coming down though. That's taking away like all your divine gifts and going to hell on a divine mission though, you know what I mean? Very important mission. Star seeds are very, very important, dude. They did some very personal. They're the only ones that could, because they were like ascended level, master level stuff. So they didn't. It wasn't like We're talking the highest level beings took on the hardest level missions because the dark side knew where they were coming from, knew what level of dimensional soul they were, and where they were being born at and incarnating at. So they had every weapon ready for them. You get me? They were going to do everything in their power to break them, beat them, traumatize them, abuse them, use them. But see, they also wanted to use them because they're a Starseed has the most direct connection to Prime Creator. So that's exactly the energy you want to feed on. So you're not going to kill it, not always, not if you can't, and if you don't have to. But if you can abuse it, manipulate, control it, and then turn it and use it to your desires. So that's what they typically want to do with the starseed type energy being. They want to weaken it, abuse it, traumatize it to the point where it's broken, but they don't want to fucking kill it because they want to feed off that direct source. It has a higher level source energy. So that's a lot more energy to survive another 10,000 years or some shit. I don't know. I don't know the level of how that works exactly. But the director, the more direct source, the more directly connected you are to the source, prime creator, the more energy that you're connected to and are and can manifest, connect to, uh, experience, share. But it's more than just out of your mouth. I mean, you are it. I mean, you literally are taking energies that were not available into this timeline and directly by incarnating once because when you wake up you're literally in amnesia and then you also just lived 7 to 8 years in a massive abusive household where you were traumatized to the level you don't even can imagine. So you're already broken because they did everything in their power. The dark side knew what they're going to do to you. They had a plan for you before you even got there. They already knew. You see, the dark side had the upper hand all the way. So the star seeds that incarnated would be aware. The dark side would be aware of what they were coming from, who they really were, and they would have a divine plan to do all the damage they could do before they were even ready to even come into like consciousness. I mean, my first memory was when I heard the phone ring. I knew my dad was already dead. My dad killed himself when I was 7. My first thought. So this is what I'm saying. I don't know if I was already, because I have memories pre that, but they weren't like that. So like literally, my thought telling myself instantly as I went laying in bed, hearing the phone ring. So I was already, I don't know, in that moment, well, as my dad died, maybe I mean he like came back to me, and that woke me up. You get me? So that was part of that, and like in some ways, I feel like he sacrificed himself to wake me up. That's the best way I want to look at it. Anyway, but that's just a weird memory to have at 7 years old, right? Like to be consciously aware in your thought of conscious thought of awareness. That's like an out of body thought. It was not. It was already. It's like I said. Like star seeds are a special breed, bro. That level of soul is so it's already ascended, lived billions of lifetimes, and universes. They're the only ones that could be the star seed. Uh, uh, there's not every being in the universe would be able to or desire to do the missions that these star seeds had to do. Like I said, it'd be like walking into hell, knowing that you're gonna have to live the next whatever thousand timelines under fucking darkness and pain and suffering and knowing what you're gonna get into, and still saying, "Okay, I'll do it." But even when they knew they'd do it, they didn't know how bad it'd be. You can't know how bad it'd be until you lived it. That's how bad it was because it wasn't. They didn't just get us in this timeline. We had to come in different timelines at different times. We're not just one life traumatized. We're many on all the levels under that they're available and able to get to. So they were getting us. They were hitting us on every one of them. That's what I'm saying. It's not just this timeline. It's not just this life. They were fracturing and beating us and attacking us on every level that they could because they knew how much it mattered and they knew how much that energy meant to them. Not just to make us fail. That is even bigger than that. We're access to the prime source energy. So that energy they fed on, that's like come in, we got you. Oh yeah, come on. It was like dark side, light side. I mean, there was no, I don't know. It's fucking Star Wars, man. The power of the Force, Luke. Be mindful of your thoughts, Luke. Your emotion. Be mindful of your emotions. Your emotions betray you. Anakin was highly emotional. And then what did Obi-Wan say? Anakin, you were supposed to be the one. The I can't remember. What was he? I mean, he was the prophecy, the prodigal one. Which is funny. He was the one that united the Force, though. He killed Palpatine and died. So he was the darkness, but at the end, he sacrificed his life and everything he was. But then you saw him. Then he recreated in the Force as a spirit, as Anakin. Yeah. So the Dark Lord, he was able to go back into where his soul was not dark yet. That was, and to reach that level. I mean, that story, George Lucas wasn't given that story and that whole thing accidentally. He was channeled that information to bring that very important mission, and that mission, that Star Wars movies is so important. The Matrix movie is so important. But see, the darkness side allows these movies to come in because it works for them too. Because first of all, if I tell you something in a movie form, you're not going to believe it. So it takes the power of that movie and it actually destabilizes it and makes it powerless if you're on a certain conscious level until you come into a waking level and understand the truth for what it is. And you start to see through the lies. And you realize the truth is the lie and the lie is the truth. This is what they do. That's why the light bringers, many are dark. Many of the good people are bad. What you might think, like some of these stories in the spiritual missions, some of these alien seeds, some of these stories we're getting from these videos and shit from I'm not you can't trust all of it because what is I mean that's the story in the Bible, the light bringer. They just that hide behind the light. Lucifer, the light bringer, right? I mean, that stuff is like universal. I mean, the darkness will hide behind the light. It wants you to believe the lie, so it's gonna masquerade as the truth and do everything in your power for you to trust it. First of all, don't trust anyone or anything. Trust yourself. There's your number one lesson. That's good. Believe nothing of what you hear, but believe nothing of what you see. Even when you believe that you believe it, don't believe it because things change as you change. And and there you are. If you're always in that moment of change, then you can't be co-opted because you're malleable. You're fluid. You don't say I am this, that, or other. You are what you are. Do you see the power in that though? Definitions define and they become prisons and barriers. That's why religions and all this is the way it is. This is the way it is. This is the way it is. That whole framework and idea and conscious thought form is a prison because things aren't always the way they are. And what you think they are, they might not be. Like anything I say, take it for a grain of salt because I'm just talking from my perspective at this point. You know what I mean? If it resonates with you, good. If it doesn't, that's fine too. You know, I'm just sharing me with you, and I'm appreciative that somebody's listening. I started this TikTok channel. I don't know, as a whim, dude, but like I was told for years to journal. Well, TikTok is my journal. I've been able to literally, it's been a healing mechanism for me. So many of those videos that I created, I just been up at night and just had thought, and it was able for me to take a lot of these ideas, conspiracies, information that I once learned about, thought about, take it out of my mind, put it into form, and leave it there. It's been massively uh healing for me. It's been a healing mechanism. It's been a freeing mechanism. I don't know. I don't. I don't. It's like my real intent. I hope that some people enjoy it, but it's been more for me than it's been really for me. I didn't realize that. I don't even make a penny. Some days I spend 10 hours making videos. I haven't made a penny off TikTok. It's been over a year of my personal time, but I've enjoyed it more than a lot of things in life. But I started on the internet in internet marketing in the 2000s. I was one of the pioneers of the internet at making money online. And then in 2000, 1999, I had a crown chakra um, blown open. I was doing I was 19, no 20. I was 20, 23, 23 in Las Vegas, and I was on ecstasy at the House of Blues, and somebody slipped a roofie in my drink, and I drank the roof fluid drink, and since I was in the ecstasy, it did something. The two drugs like malfunctioned my brain, and within like 20 minutes, I mean like 10 minutes of drinking the drink, um, I just had a crown chakra opening, dude. Literally, I mean, I went from fine to not fine. I ended up in a mental hospital. Um, Within 3 months, I was on a first class ticket to Israel, not knowing. I thought I was Michael the Archangel, and I needed to get to Israel to start Armageddon. This is what I thought, and this is in 2000. When the Pope was there, by the way, which I did not know. So anyway, turns out I was on a mission, and it's funny enough, I was being told to go to Vegas before the crown chakra experience even happened. So I was meant to have that experience in Vegas to trigger me to get to Israel to get my energy, myself, and my portal to Israel when they were doing their dark magic portal shit in Israel in 2000 when the Pope was there, dude. Jubilee. A very yeah, they were, and I was like, I heard like if they knew what you were really doing, I would have been murdered. They would never allowed me on that plane, but that was so out of nowhere that it was a mission that nobody knew, and I jumped on the plane. And anyway, I was basically being honed to be like a billionaire millionaire. I was already making 300,000 years at 23 years old. One of my best friends from high school was worth 150 million dollars. Um, I was literally it was like I was either going to be a rich dark sider or a spiritual starseed, and there wasn't going to be one or the other. So I think my soul already had a prior mission to bypass with the crown chakra opening in a moment, and then many years of trauma. But I needed to. I was on a solo mission, personal. Nobody knew about. Anyway, so yeah, so I jumped on that fucking plane, time machine, flew to Israel, did or didn't do whatever I didn't do or didn't do. I just was needed to be where I was, and I went to Egypt too. Both are very important proto plate ports. Well, I heard that Israel, Jerusalem specifically, is where every soul has to come into our planet to incarnate. So it's like the most important point on the planet. Why do you think that's why they literally bought Jerusalem back for the Jews? It's not about the Jews. It's a portal point. They needed it's a strategic, political, and military location. It's been important to our planet for over 2,000 years, more than that. Dude, Jerusalem, just like Baalbek in Iraq, is a starport. Where the Temple Mount is, which was where the Solomon's Temple was originally built, it's a giant slab of stone that allowed the spaceports to fly like land there, and it would support massive weighted UFOs, just like in Baalbek. That's another star point. Not star point, but we're talking like spaceport. Yeah, Jerusalem was a spaceport specifically in the past. That's an ancient area type place. Very the most militarily strategic place on the planet Earth. And Israel, it's like an hour flight to Cairo. So it'd probably take you 2 days if you had to walk. I don't know, maybe more, like 7 days to walk from Cairo to Jerusalem. I'm not even sure how many miles it is. The story is that the 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 Jews were in 40 years in the desert before they got to the promised land. That doesn't even make sense. It would take you 20 days maybe to get from Cairo um, to Jerusalem. So I don't even know that they're talking about a whole other story, especially with the Passover and all that. That's a whole other story they're not even telling you about. That's cryptic. Also, who even knows, man? Because Moses was probably Akhenaten, the one that was so rotten. Have you guys seen what Akhenaten looked like? He was a alien hybrid. He had a what is it? Conehead, right? What do they call him? He and his wife Nefertiti, they were aliens, literally. And when he came in, they took over Egypt, and he was the pharaoh. But when he left, they literally tried to wipe him off all the history in Egypt, because he he was telling everybody that, because the Egyptians they had many gods, many stories, many. He wanted everybody to be under one god, the Aten, the solar disk, the golden disk. He was the one that started the whole idea of one god versus many gods. But not for the right reason. It wasn't because there is one God. It was just easier to control one narrative under one being. Also, Amun Ra, he was an actual Anunnaki being. His name was Amun Ra. Amen. Amen. So when you say Amen to pray, you're praying to that Anunnaki fallen alien not God. He literally is that much of a piece of shit that he would make you all pray to him in his name. Amen was his name. Yeah, they had the. I mean, you could. Billy Carson talks about this a little bit. They had the Pyramid Wars. That's why Egypt is a desert land, and the Sahara Desert. There was a massive atomic war in that area, so massive that nothing will grow in that area. So that's where the Saharan Desert came from. This actually makes sense too if you think about it. If you in all the stories, Egypt and Jerusalem, they were all supposed to be like the got the best fertile lands, and now they're a desert. That's what happens when you have massive atomic wars and whatever other technology they were using in that area. And um, I mean, I don't even know if it was during Atlantis, but whatever war that they did at whatever time, it threw Earth into a solar polar shift, which is why now Antarctica is where it is right now in the South Pole. It wasn't originally in that pole area of of the Earth. It was in a more temperate climate. What happened was there was a massive tidal wave. Antarctica pole shift ended up in the South Pole. So all that 2 miles of ice was all the water the instantly tidal wave into the South Pole as Antarctica went there too. Yeah, pole shift after the war. Yeah, I mean, there's stories in the Anunnaki. They talk about it. They talk about the war. They talk about releasing a weapon that once it's released, there's nothing they can do. And then they're like, "Why did you do that?" And then they were regretting what they were doing, and they were asking their Anu god or Ea, "What can we do?" Because they were like in radiation and all this stuff. Because they have the effects of it too. I mean, their weapons. I mean, I don't even. It must have been an atomic on another level, dude. To create the Saharan desert and all that. That was not. That was a fertile, beautiful land. They have done so much damage to this planet. And I don't think it was Atlantean times that they did that. I think the 13,000 years ago it was longer than that. So you have all these stories that come in. There was Atlantis, the story of Atlantis in the fall and under the waves. That's a true story, and that was at one point. But this has happened more than one time. So to get the whole story and what was when and what war was then and when was Atlantis this and Lemuria there and move there, those are all true timelines and time points and societies. But it's hard to figure out the whole narrative of exactly how it went down, what war happened when, what exactly who fought who. you know, because everyone I've listened to doesn't no one has agree on the timelines, the exact times, what events actually happened for what time. At certain points, alien species literally ruled on this planet out in the open. Anunnaki, reptilians, walking, talking, 15 foot, 12 foot tall dragons. I mean, literally, they would walk around in public. The dragons, the reptilians, the alpha draconians. They ruled out in the open. During where Angkor Wat is, I heard Angkor Wat. That was where they were located. That was one of their. That's where they were living. That was their temple. Um, I mean, that's why you hear about the serpent in the Bible, the serpent seed, and all this stuff. But see, not all reptilians are evil, though. The Alpha Draconian, there's more than one race of them too, and their story hasn't been told in totally. It, there's a multi-dimensional story to all that, dude. As much information as we get, we don't get a lot, and not everybody agrees on everything. Every source you get from has a little bit piece of this, a little piece of that, and I kind of just take it all together and try to make sense of it. But it seems to me like nobody knows everything and nobody can agree on everything. I mean, it's hard when you're only getting channeled information and nobody's like literally here to teach you the truth. I mean, you know what I mean, and you're not sure what levels you can even get because depending on what level your distortion is, you're what level your frequency is at. There's gonna be certain levels of distortion which leave a certain percentage of the information to be not quite truthful, and that's how the temperate frequency works. You know what I mean? It's like the telephone game. When you tell your friend one thing and he tells her that, and they go around the room, and by the time the message gets back, it's a total different story where it started from the source. And that's what it's like getting information down here sometimes, especially when you have the dark beings running every level of technology to make sure that no knowledge, as limited knowledge can get through as possible. That's what the contrails are, where they're spraying on that shit. A lot of that is to disrupt the information coming into the frequencies. It's also to weaken our planet too. They have multi dimensional reasons for what they do, but that con spraying is an agenda. It's to weaken and keep us, denser. They're trying to like because they spray like metals and shit, metals into our atmosphere that are like poisoning us. And the amount, I mean, after the tsunami that hit what um, Fukushima that started the nuclear plant that was there, and then they weren't able to through the nuclear plant into a meltdown. That's literally still being leaked into the Pacific Ocean. So all that nuclear waste and energy poisoning the whole Pacific Ocean. So I mean, there's of course the levels of cancer went up on a massive level, but I mean, disease and stuff is more than just material. It's spiritual. So if you believe you can get sick, you can get sick. If you don't believe you can get sick, you won't get sick. That's why people used to like be farmers, and they would smoke a pack a day, pack an hour, eat 12 eggs, bacon, never ever had cancer, lived 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years, worked every day of their life, didn't live, they had, all the things that they say would kill you and cause cancer never existed. Cancer is a new thing. Cancer is your body fighting itself, by the way. And that's a literal manifestation of a spiritual warfare. Your soul and consciousness fighting itself. So then the body repeats it. It learns it from your spirit. So if your spirit's fighting itself, then the body will fight itself. I mean, the body follows the spirit, and vice versa. So so much of disease they don't want you to tell you this. They have also weaponized healthcare. They use hacksaw methods. Chemo, they literally poison your body to save your body. That doesn't make any sense. If it's all about spirit and thought, then then what you think is how you heal. Use healing energies, thought forms. Um, you know what I mean? Intent. This is the power of healing. You go within yourself. I've went into my own brain. I've felt myself healing my parts of my brain before. It's like it's amazing. It's weird, but it's true. The power of spirit is amazing, bro. I mean, literally, our spirits are so beautiful and awesome. I mean, we're just awesome beings. The fact that we've been able to live and put up with this for so long,